The following is a TPC Network podcast.
Hey, Pepin.
Yo.
You ever think about... hold on, we should redo that.
No. Okay.
I wish that I had a time machine so I could go back and do another take where I don't hit the mic stand.
Well, we could just... Also, we have be laughing in the background. I mean, we could just, do another take. I mean, that's easy enough.
No. The only option is that I build a time machine so I can go back and change that one moment that doesn't mean anything.
Well, yeah, it really doesn't mean anything. I mean, it just takes 2 seconds to do a take, and then, going back in time.
Nope, time machine, only option.
Steve, we need to talk.
Welcome back. So glad you guys could join us. I'm here once again with the fabulous, the enviable, the indomitable Nathan Pepin. How's it going, Pepin?
You sound like an announcer there. I like it.
Yeah, well, I'm working my way into being a sports announcer, and someday I'll be able to say the words I've always wanted to say. They did a pretty good job.
I thought you were going to say, the N-word.
No, I'm not interested in that one. While we're on that subject, we do have a second special guest here today. There's actually only one, and her name's Brienne. How's it going, B?
Hi.
The B word.
Oh, okay.
Brienne. How's it going, Brienne?
It's going.
Alrighty. So the topic today is time machines, and let's say, so here's the concept. I've built a time machine that can bring you back in time to any moment in your entire life that lets you do over that moment in your life. But the only catch is that the moment that it brings you back to is something completely innocuous. Something completely does not matter at all. It's a ridiculous thing.
So it wouldn't affect where you are right now. It's not like, I'd be $200 richer, or not $200.
I'd go back and I'd invest $1,000 in Google when it first came out. It can't be that. It has to be something completely irrelevant, but that still hits home for you. You would want to go back and change it.
You'd be roughly the same. You'd be almost exactly the same person. Maybe just a little tiny bit different. So little different that you would be able to tell.
Now, of course, the butterfly effect says that we couldn't go back and change something small and not have it change the future drastically, or not know that it's not going to change the future drastically. But whatever we come up with, I'm pretty confident it's not going to change the future very much.
Also, we have an episode on the butterfly effect. Well, we talk about in the time travel episode. I think it's episode 4.
It is one of the first episodes for sure.
It's a good one. We talk about taking in the ass for
the Jews.
For the Jews, yeah.
Yeah. Taking in the ass to prevent the Holocaust. It's a great episode. Go listen to that one after this one. But anyway, Nate, what would you go back and change?
Okay, so this is gonna sound kind of dumb, kind of crazy. So just go with it. So back when I was in I think it was 3rd or 4th grade. I think it was 3rd grade. I had this friend named Michael, and Michael, he had parents that were divorced. So one parent lived in this one house somewhere, and the other parent lived in this other house. Michael's mom did this program called it's called OAM, Odyssey of the Mind, where you do play acting and make weird things, and it's kind of a weird thing to describe, but it's acting involved with a stunt, making a spaghetti bridge or structure that has to hold a certain amount of weight, and you'll be acting out the thing while they put weights on this structure and see if it collapses and stuff. But anyway, so I was involved in that program, and I was also friends with Michael, and I didn't have a ride to the program. I got a ride there after school, obviously, but I didn't have a ride home because my parents were working. So Michael's mom agreed to give me a ride home. Now, usually the ride home would be with Michael, right? But that day, Michael had to go to his stepdad's. So, got in the car, and she dropped him off at the stepdad's. And then as his mom's backing up, it's a little awkward just being in someone's mom's car, alone. But she starts backing up, but then this kind of neighbor, or this person just kind of walks across, and it's a family member, apparently. I'm pretty sure it's a family member. And she starts talking to the mother, and the mother's like, oh, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And then she's like, oh, is that Michael out back in the back seat? And I don't know why, but I felt super embarrassed and really awkward. And it was super, super awkward. And this is the most embarrassed I've been in my entire life. It's not rational. But
I hate when someone mistakes me for Michael.
So what I would go back in time to change is I would just kind of like hide underneath the seat. Like I would just kind of like pretend I wasn't there and just kind of like duck down. That way this lady wouldn't see me and wouldn't mistake me for Michael.
So if that never happened, that would no longer be your most embarrassed moment. What would become your most embarrassing moment?
Well, there was that time, I think I described it on the podcast. I mean, it wasn't embarrassing. It was more like, this is shit I have to deal with. But the time I crapped my pants and had to do the SATs.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Wait. You crapped your pants in school in front of everybody and had to take a standardized test that decided your future, and that was less embarrassing than being mistaken for your friend when you were 6. Nathan, your scale of embarrassment is absurd.
Okay, let's be
Priorities.
specific here, though. I didn't crap my pants in school. It was on the way to school. My mom was driving me. It was one of those like ones where it feels like it's just a fart, but then it's comes out, it's a shark, and it was bad. I was wearing white khakis. I tied around like this thing around my waist, but the hoodie, but the girl still laughed at me as I walked up the stairs.
Being mistaken for Michael is worse than sharding your pants and taking a test.
I mean, the main thing that's awkward about the test was just readjusting my like I didn't want it to smell, so I kept on readjusting, trying to cover it when I was like taking the test. It's very kind of awkward. It was awkward. It's more awkward than it was embarrassing.
Did they ever find out you weren't Michael?
Yeah. She said, "Oh no, that's some one of his friends."
Some kid.
Which is even more embarrassing for me because it's like, oh god, I'm one of Michael's friends.
If that's embarrassing for you, imagine how embarrassing it was for him. Man, I am zinging away today.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, B.
Yeah.
What would you go back and change?
Okay, so mine's kind of a confession and a regret all in one.
Oh boy.
So my birthday is December 23rd. And so something that was very popular when I was in grade school was anyone who had a birthday during the school year would bring in like a treat or a goodie to share with the classmates. And my birthday being so close to Christmas, I never got to celebrate and have parties with like people, friends, or I didn't have friends. I'm not sure which, but so anyways, for my class, I would always make cupcakes with my grandmother because I lived with my grandparents at the time. So they tasked us with getting a list of how many people in our class to make cupcakes for, right? Simple enough. So it was always, one for the teacher, one for everyone in class, including myself, with maybe 1 or 2 left over. And that's all they wanted exact. So I, being the cake hoarder that I am, got the smart idea somewhere around 3rd or 4th grade. So I was a couple years into this now. And I got the smart idea of, well, I can just say there's this many and have extra cupcakes for myself. And so I started doing that. I made out my list, and then I was like, well, I'll do like 4 extra cupcakes. I didn't want to go overboard because then my grandmother would be like, there's not 38 people in your class. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, you know what I mean? So, like, generally the classes I were in were 21 to 23 at the most. So I would, boost it to like 26. Well, we would make up to 26, so I would go to like 28 or whatever, and that was acceptable. My one regret is this one year, I think it was 4th grade, I want to say, that I went and I passed out all the cupcakes to everyone in my class. And of course, the boy that I had a crush on got the better looking one. So I gave him the better looking cupcake that I had. And so I had all these extra cupcakes. And for whatever reason, this year there was... I don't know if they're like special needs students that came in with our class because we were doing something for the holidays. And this is embarrassing. There is this one kid that I didn't give a cupcake to, but everyone else got one, and I ate it instead. And I regret that moment because, like, I felt bad almost, like...
The second you finished the cupcake.
I felt bad knowing I was premeditated.
But you ate it anyway.
I'm an asshole. Like,
Wait. Okay. So you had her make extra cupcakes, but there were unexpected additional guests that arrived that day, so you almost didn't have any extra cupcakes. So your remedy was to not give some to special needs kids so that you could eat extra cupcakes.
Yep.
And you felt bad about it beforehand? Before you did it?
While you're eating the cupcake in the corner. Like, oh, didn't make enough. Nom, nom, nom. Oh, I feel so bad. But it's...
Well, no, but so I ate mine before I handed everyone, like,
So you gave yourself one at the end as well. So while everybody else was eating one, you were eating one, but you had already eaten some.
Correct. I had one in the morning for breakfast out in the schoolyard.
Hiding under the jungle gym. Eating your birthday cupcakes.
Yep. And then snack time, we'd hand them all out. And I was just like one short with the amount of guests that we had. I was one short. And I was just like, oh, I don't have one, but this one's mine, so I'm going to eat it.
Well, you couldn't know you were going to have extra guests, so I mean, but do you feel a little better having talked about it now?
Well, okay, so what I did to remedy how I felt so bad, like I can't even. So what I did is for the following years, I did the same thing. Like I would tell my grandmother, okay, I had this many that I need to give cupcakes for, and it would still be extras. So what I did is I went roaming the halls, and anyone that I saw that didn't have a snack or that I liked that wasn't in my class, or a teacher that I liked that I no longer was with because I graduated the class, I would give them a cupcake. And Brittany can attest to all of this.
So that sounds like it created quite a change for you.
I was mortified
for
with
years
myself.
and years to come. It changed the way you behaved.
Oh,
now the lying to your grandmother part was fine. That you wouldn't change. Does she know to this day? Oh,
God.
Don't let her listen to this episode.
That's why I said confession. I know I never... She had to have caught on. Grammy's smart. Like, there's this one time that Brittany and I were eating... we're twins, and we had the afternoon kindergarten class, so we would eat lunch and then they would bring us to school. And I hated a cream soda, but Brittany loved it. And so as a treat, Grampy gave us cream soda, and I felt so guilty being like, no, Grampy, I don't want your treat. I hate it. So instead of doing that, Grampy would look away, like he would be doing something behind the counter and not we wouldn't be in like sight of him. And so we were eating whatever we were eating, and Brittany was looking the other way, and I started pouring my cream soda in her cup, and she goes, stop it, what are you doing? And I was like, I don't want this. And she, stop, we're gonna get caught. And I still kept pouring, and then finally he turned around and I had dumped the last bit in. Grampy didn't catch on, but Grammy did, because there was one day that because he stayed at home and she worked. Well, one day he had to go to court for something because he was a landlord. So he went to court and Grammy got the time off, and she saw me do the same exact thing, caught me. She saw it in the window because she could see her reflections in the window, and the look she gave me, daggers. Like, she was just a crafty woman. So I'm sure she knew, but she never said anything.
Man.
Hi. Pretty intense there.
So Nate was mistaken for another person. Casually. And you withheld treats from a mentally challenged kid.
Yep.
Now, what is Steven's story?
Oh, boy. Well, there was one time that I had a dream that my sister was chasing me around the house and around the pool with scissors, and she was trying to kill me with them. And then at the end of the dream, I got cornered and I had to jump into the pool to get away from her. And then I woke up. And if I had a time machine, could go back in time, just wouldn't have that dream.
Is that something you can choose?
Well, yeah, I'd wake myself up before I had the dream.
Is that something you can do?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Can you?
I'd find myself and I'd shake myself awake, and then I'd disappear into the future.
Okay.
Never have that dream. Never have that dream.
Can you not wake yourself up from dreaming?
Well, often you don't know you're dreaming, which is the issue. I think we touched on this in the dreams episode with Chelsea. I'm going to say episode 24. I'm just going to guess.
That's a random number.
Yep, random number. But issue I have, or have had, I don't have the issues as much nowadays, but like I would have these semi-lucid dreams, and they'd be kind of fucked up. So I try to wake up from the dream, and then I would wake up into other dreams. Or I would wake up in my bed, but then I realized it wasn't matching my bed. It was like kind of that cliche, like where you wake up and you are in your bed, but it's actually not your bed, and you're still in the dream, and you realize something's wrong. And then I'd wake up again, same kind of situation. It'd always be things like, wait, no, my laptop's over here. It's not over there. What's going on? So, yes.
Huh.
Can I change my answer?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's not a very good answer, to be honest.
I remember that dream so vividly. I just don't want it to exist. But there was... Okay, so there's this one time in college, and I believe you were there, Nate, when we took what was the sex class? No, maybe it was Nick Stewart.
Sex?
Yeah, it was like a sex education course in college.
Sounds pretty hot.
Human sexuality, I think they called it. It wasn't. It was like 250 people in the class. But there was this teacher, and she would have guests in sometimes. And one time she had this guest in, and the guest was like a wicked bitch to her, to the students, to everybody. She was like openly flirting with students and like trying, and like, oh, we'll talk later, or like we'll meet up later, or something like that. And like was being a wicked bitch to the teacher, to the point that she asked a question, and like I raised my hand and I stood up and I'm like, you're like, I was just like telling her off basically, and like everybody. And then she asked a question back, like she was quick-witted and fired something back, and like I had something for it, but I froze and I didn't say anything, and I was like, I forget. And then she's like egging me on, like being a wicked bitch. She's like, no, you wanted to stand up and say something. What do you got to say? And everybody in the class, there's like 250 people, were like, yeah, come on, say it. What do you want to say? And I choked and just had to end up sitting back down with my tail between my legs. And she went on for the rest of the class being a bitch. And I just wish I could go back and finish telling her off as she deserved and be like, you're a motherfucking guest in this class. None of us think you're something special. So why don't you take a step back and teach us and stop being a bitch to the teacher who invited you here, and you wouldn't even exist without her in the first place. But instead I said nothing, and I truly regret that.
Standing up to power. I like it.
Yeah.
Or actually not standing up to power.
Yeah, exactly. Because you remember I did that in the honors class that one time when the lady kept talking about, it was in the lecture, and the lady down was talking about all this like ancient pottery and stuff, and she kept saying everything was a vagina.
Yep.
And I'm like, Nate, I'm not gonna be able to. I'm gonna say something. You're like, Steve, please don't say anything. I'm like, I can't help it. I'm gonna have to. Like, this is ridiculous. She's making shit up at this point. And then she brought up like this vase. And she's like, you see this vase, how it has an opening? This is just like a vagina. And I'm like, okay, you can't say everything is like a vagina. And like, there were a bunch of people who agreed with me, and then there were a bunch of people who disagreed, because some kids like raised their hand and they're like, well, actually, it was a common thing back in that time that things would be similar to genitalia, and there were a lot of instances, especially in the Greeks, where they would do penises and vaginas and hide them within, because that was just kind of a common trope of the era. And I was like, yeah, but she's literally saying everything's a vagina. Just because it has an opening doesn't mean it's a vagina.
Yep. I have notes from that lecture, and one of the notes is vag equals face.
Oh no.
She was saying that like somebody did like a statue, and she's like, that face just like a vagina.
Actually,
or was it the other way?
I think it's something like that. But there's also this this crown, right? And a girl raised her hand later on in the question periods, and it's like, that picture, that one right there. It's kind of interesting that that the crafter of it actually put a vagina on the crown. And it's like the person's like, oh, I didn't notice that. Hold on. And then she's like, oh, that's not a vagina.
The one thing that wasn't a vagina. That's hilarious. Wow. But I remember after the vagina monologue, a bunch of kids like came up and were like, thank you for saying something, because that was obnoxious. And then a couple other kids came up and were like, why'd you have to speak up? You sound like a dick bag. So it was like I touched so many people by talking about vaginas.
I like it. I have a bonus story.
Yes.
A bonus story?
A bonus story.
Oh, a bonus.
A bonus regret, rather. Time machine regret. So there was this time when I slept over we're going to call her my grandmother. She's not my real grandmother, but she's like a grandmother. So I slept over her house, and I had school the next day, and this was a very lovely woman, and she would make bacon, and she'd buy donuts from a donut place, and it was great. And so one day she, I don't know why, she decides to buy me like 2 dozen donuts, before going to school, and I'm like, oh, sweet, I get some donuts. And so I intend on sharing them with my friends and stuff, and so I bring them in, and walk into school. We have these things called pods, which it's just like a mini little classroom area, and this is where the students hang out instead of like the locker room or not the locker room. Instead of just these lock areas, you have like this enclosed space where everybody from that team or that group kind of hangs out.
It's a common room.
Common room. And so I got to school, and everybody's just kind of hanging out before classes start. And I put the donuts down for like 2 seconds, and then all the hot girls walk over and, oh, donuts? And they start just taking them. And, a few guys took them, but all the hot girls took them. And I didn't speak up and didn't do anything. So by not speaking up, I didn't actually help my friends out. And friends are what really matters. And this is why we're a part of the TCP network.
Okay. First off. B, how are you after that story? I know this must be very emotional for you, that baked goods went to waste.
It's funny you say that, because I was connecting to the level where I was just like, if this was cupcakes, how would I react? I would lose it. I would just start crying, personally. Hot girls, hot guys, ugly friends, no. You can't.
Secondly, it's the TPC network, not TCP. So how good of friends are they to you, Nate?
Chris Evangel and Brian.
Case and point.
Oh, boy.
Trico, not Trico. He's our friend.
Oh, he is a good friend.
Brian Casey.
Wait, who's that?
He is just on a
Sissy
roll.
Spacek. Good friend of the show, Stephen King.
But, we love our friends that impact... What's it called?
Innovative Hybrid Wrestling.
At Innovative Hybrid Wrestling. And, you should check them out on Facebook.com/
I don't know that. You throw me like the hardest things to come up with.
That's when you're like, fuck you.
And if you want to find us at www. See? How's it feel, Nate?
Oh, I thought you were going to finish that.
You can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/We Need a Talk Show. If you want the square root of pi, Nate will tell you it right now.
It's actually 1.14127. I'm not sure if it's 7, but it's 1.14.
No way.
Isn't there a 3?
Pi is 3.14, so there's no way the square root is 1.14.
Oh, square root of pi. Why did I was thinking 2 for some reason. I don't know.
2 is not the square root of pi.
No, it's not. But square root of 2 is 1.141.
Oh, okay.
And square root of pi, that's probably like 1.679.
Someone Google that. No, don't really.
You can use a calculator as well.
No. Let's just keep going.
Okay, well, speaking of calculators,
find us on Twitter, twitter.com/WNTT1.
And, we want you to be one of those friends I didn't give a donut to. So, if you want to be one of those friends, talk to us, please.
And what if...
I'm so sorry.
If you want to be one of those friends that Nate didn't give a donut to, donate to us.
Oh my God.
On Patreon. And we'll get donuts for everyone. That's probably not true, but it'd be great to help the show.
If we ever have a meetup, it'll be a Patreon exclusive. I'll be sure not to give it to all the hot girls who aren't donators.
Only donators will get it. Hot girls can come by, but they're not getting any donuts.
I mean, unless you donate, in which case, conflict of interest.
Donate donuts.
Donate donuts?
Donuts.
This is not going well.
We need to talk. Sponsored by
Innovative Hybrid Wrestling has always referred to their wrestlers as megastars, and now is encouraging fans across the Maritimes to become megastars as well. But fans don't need to worry about stepping into the ring with the monster Brody Steele. The promotion is looking for donations to help raise money for the annual Christmas Daddies Telethon. A maritime tradition since 1964, Christmas Daddies helps less fortunate families in the Atlantic provinces to have a better Christmas. At all IHW events in 2017, IHW will raise funds for Christmas Daddies with a goal of raising $5,000 to become a silver sponsor and present the check at the telethon in December. We hope that you will become an IHW megastar to help everybody have an enjoyable Christmas. This has been a TPC Network podcast. For more shows like this, go to tpcnetwork.com/podcasts.